What's going on, people? Tony here, back again. It's Football Fan TV, yet another episode. No gang business as usual, one man army. Shout out to the Football Gang TV. You guys are all amazing. And in today's episode, I just have something simple to talk about or discuss so that you guys could know. Now, you know the 2023 2024 seasons are all over. They're still going on in the world. We have the La Liga, the Premier League, the Bundesliga. We have the Ligue A or the Ligue 1 in the French people as well. So now today we're going to talk about coaches that have been fired either mid-season or in the beginning of the season or later on in the season. Now we're going to start with the Premier League because we know you all have teams in the Premier League. Now the first person who was fired in the Premier League was Julian Lopetegui. You know, he was the coach of Wolves. Remember, Wolves was doing so badly, and then they had to come up. He actually had a mutual understanding with Wolves to terminate his contract because things were not going well, and he was the first guy to be replaced, to be sacked. Actually, that was last year in August, around 8th August, and he was replaced by Gary O'Neill, the former Bournemouth coach. And you see how Wolves is flying lately. The football is flying, and then they recently beat, of course, Chelsea 4-2, and then they lost 1 point to Manchester United in the dying minutes of the game. You all saw what Man U did. So the first coach to be fired this season, Julian Lopetegui in the Premier League. Then Paul Hackingbottom. He was coaching Sheffield. He brought them back to the Premier League, but then Sheffield started with no points. Things are not moving. Everybody was beating them. They only had one proper game, which was against City, but they still lost. They still lost the game in the dying minutes of the game. So they fired Paul, and then they brought back their former coach, Chris Wilder. And you've seen how Sheffield is doing. We don't know whether they're going to survive relegation this season or not. We're all going to see. And then Steve Cooper, who brought Nottingham back into the Premier League, was also fired by Nottingham Forest because he was not doing well as well. Results were not coming, and you know the business is all about winning and having results. So Cooper didn't have the results. He didn't bring the results to Nottingham. Then he had to be fired and has been replaced by Nuno Espirito. You know, Nuno coached. Jose was also fired from the Saudi Arabian League. He was a free agent, so Nottingham brought him, and then he's trying to change things in Nottingham. Now, the coaches that are maybe up for the axe or are going to be fired, we're looking at Mauricio Pochettino right now in Chelsea. Chelsea is struggling so much with all the money they've spent, almost 1 billion. The team has failed to tick. There's a lot of stuff that is going on in the team, and now there's a lot of pressure actually that is coming on to Pochettino. Most of the Chelsea fans want Pochettino fired, like Isaac, I know. Poch out, he's in the campaign. Also, we have Johnny. He's also shouting for Pochettino out. Also, do you guys think Ten Hag is also going to be one of the coaches that is going to be fired in case results don't go his way, or if Man U doesn't give him more time? We are going to look into that. Now, the shocker we had was Jurgen Klopp announcing in around January 26, that he's going to be leaving Liverpool at the end of the season after 7.5 years at Anfield. So we do not know which coach Liverpool is going to be getting next. Also, a coach who is under pressure is Roy Hodgson. We saw one of the games for Crystal Palace where the former Chelsea coach Graham Potter was in the stands. He is tipped to be the next man to replace Roy Hodgson since things are not moving well in Crystal Palace or at Crystal Palace. Now the fans are having banners everywhere, so he's going to be maybe the next to get the axe. Now in Spain, I'm going to run through this one. Now in Spain, Vicente Moreno of Villarreal was fired. Then also Jose Luis Mendilibar of Sevilla was fired. Also Villarreal fired the second coach that they got to replace Vicente. So after firing Vicente, they got Paqueta, and Paqueta was still fired. Now another weird one is also Sevilla also fired the second coach they got to replace Mendilibar. So these teams so far have sacked coaches twice, Villarreal and then Sevilla. Then also Paco Lopez of Granada was fired earlier on in the season. Then Diego Alonso of Sevilla was fired. That is the second coach who was fired. Then Sergio Gonzalez of Cadiz was also fired in the course of 2023 before the end of the year. Now in the Spanish La Liga, Xavi came out and also said he's going to be stepping down at the end of the season because he feels that is what Barcelona is not supposed to be getting. He's not giving them the result business. Xavi has failed to produce, and then he said he's going to be stepping down as the coach of Barcelona. He won them the La Liga last season, but this season he's out of the Copa del Rey. He's out of almost all those competitions. He's only competing for probably Champions League. We do not know whether he's going to go through that. Also, the La Liga is out of hand for them because Madrid is competing for it with Girona. You all know that. Then in the Serie A, weirdly, in the Serie A in Italy, the first coach to be fired was the national team coach. Roberto Mancini had to step down because he failed to take Italy into the World Cup that is upcoming. So he had to step down and he was replaced by Julian Spalletti, the Scudetto winner with Napoli. So he's the current coach of the Italian national team. Then Jose Mourinho, the big name, he was fired by Roma. You also know that right now he is not having a team. Rumors may be that he's going to be coming to Chelsea or Manchester United if one of the club decides to sack either of their coaches. And then we also have Paolo Zanetti of Empoli was also fired, and then Rudi Garcia of Napoli also. They had a mutual ground. They had to terminate the contracts. And then in the Bundesliga, also the same story like in Italy. The national team coach, or the German national team coach, Hansi Flick, was fired first before all the other coaches were also fired. Now Hansi Flick was beaten by Japan. Hansi Flick's Germany was beaten by Japan, and then they had to release him of all his duties. Currently, he has no team, and then of course who has come into the German national team. The coach who was fired by Bayern Munich, Nagelsmann, is now the national team coach. And then so in Bundesliga or in Germany, we have Urs Fischer of Union Berlin, and then we have Stefan Baumgart also, who was fired as well. Now in the French League A, the first coach to be fired was Laurent Blanc. He was the former team coach of the national team, but then he was managing Lyon. Things didn't go well, and then he also got fired. And then Marcelino of Marseille, that was a surprise. After what he did with Marseille, he was also fired. And then we had Bruno Genesi of Rennes, he was fired as well. Then finally, Fabio Grasso of Lyon was as well fired. So now, in this episode, we said earlier on we'll be giving you the coaches that were fired so far. Those were some of the coaches who have been fired in the 2023-2024 season in the 4 big leagues in Europe. Now, we've had drama in the AFCON, as you saw in the other episode, where coaches stepped down when the teams did not qualify. We also saw coaches being fired because the countries did not do well. So there's still a lot of firing that's going to be happening this season, and we'll be letting you know. So if you like this content, do the usual thing. Like the thing, leave us a comment on maybe a quote that I didn't give you guys. Also, if you're first time on the channel, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell so that you can be getting all the content we'll be putting here. So that's all I had for you. From me to you, I'm out.